put this little slideshow together, I would have loved to have found a picture of Archie Poole, the founding mother of the church. It's somewhere in a folder in the church. So, but Clatskanie, the town God chose. And I like that because we've all talked about how each of us are where we're at by God's providence. You know, we come from all kinds of places and walks in life, and somehow God brought a people together. And this is that saying that Ormel Chapin said to us, is this the town? Is this the church? Is this the people? And we have said we are. We want to be what God's called us to be. And so I'm going to show you the early days of Clatskanie. Like I say, if you want to run up here, I'm okay with that. You know we are. Okay. This is Clatskanie's Nehalem Street. You're going to have to do it, Bev. You can't see. You might as well.
I know.
Anybody else want to come up? You can. So this is Nehalem going down toward the big White House. You can see it up there. And this, I believe, is in the 1800s. I'll get the date in just a minute. This particular picture was taken when the highway from Portland to Clatskanie to Astoria was opened. It was a grand celebration of the opening of the highway in the late 1800s. Go ahead. And this is 1918. Okay, we got it. That's the same thing. So there is another picture. This right here is Main Street, Clatskanie, Oregon, on Columbia Highway. And once again, we're looking down the road there.
Sad to say all the buildings look the same today as they did back then.
Isn't there a mural on that one now?
This is Beaver Slough, and I've tried to place this, but I think that this might be our Clatskanie River, looking at the houses and things. But if somebody knows more about this, you can let me know. We always called it the slough until we found out it was a river, because it did actually have, and I'll put the stuff next door where you can look at it, the history of Clatskanie. There actually was a steamboat that left Clatskanie, went out the Columbia River and on in. Yeah, go ahead, Barry, where you can get up here. Can you see?
That round thing there looks like what's out at the Beaver Boat Club out there. Where
What round thing are you talking about?
Right there
Over here.
at the top. There's still some of that remnants there.
Okay, so it's out there. Yeah. So that is Beaver Slough. Okay. This is 1909 Clatskanie winter.
Oh, snow.
And we've seen that quite a few times in our little valley
Wasn't that
here.
last week?
Yeah.
Last week.
It was.
Yeah. This is Clatskanie winter, 1948, the year our church was born.
Wow.
And it's amazing to me that, you know, it's got the sled and the horses to get around for deliveries and things. And when you consider that Sister Archie Poole did street preaching, this was the street she preached on in 1948. Go ahead, Donna. This is the inside of the original church. You see the concrete blocks? She hired us, I'm trying to get his name. Anyway, he was a bricklayer, and he laid the bricks. And as we've often told you, that this is what the...
wasn't it?
Huh?
Wasn't it Corpola that did
No,
that?
that's not the right name in my brain anyway. You see the theater seats and you see the old platform. This is the way it was back in the beginning.
Is that the glass cross?
That's the glass cross. And all of those walls are still right here inside our walls. We did not tear down the old building. That old building is totally in here. And Pastor, it starts right there, you say, where the carpet thing is?
Right.
Yeah, that's where the old church
Right
began.
here, you can feel the floor.
Yeah.
You can see it in the carpet, but you can feel the...
And then in 1967 and 68, my dad added on that, and you'll be able to see more about where it was ending here to where the parsonage now is. And so this is my mother outside, and that's the old church property. That's what the, it's all, go ahead.
What makes this an important picture
Use that.
is that, remember the mountain that was here, you can kind of see it here because it went all the way up, the whole thing, because you can, if you stand out in the parking lot, you can see how the hill came all the way down to the road, and then you look back on this side, there's been some leveling, and the hill that comes down on this side, and so that was the original land when Sister Poole bought this property. That's what it looked like. And all of this that you're looking at now is there because it was dug out.
Yeah, yeah, an amazing miracle. Go ahead, Donna. This is the old parsonage. This is what my mom and dad and I was 18 years old when Mom and Dad took the church here, and we moved into that parsonage. And you can see right here is the end of the church, and there was a yard between. That was an operating motel. And that church now comes up to where we have a little alley right here. So Dad built this out, and of course went around the whole church and did what he normally does, which is update everything. And so this telephone pole used to sit right in the middle
Yeah,
of the
you can
parking
again
lot.
see how high the hill was up there, because this is all dwarfed beneath it, so all that was
Yeah.
underground.
So this is what I saw as my home when we moved here in 1966. And go ahead, Donna. This is my mother and dad in the kitchen. When we came back this time in 1992, when we came here in 1992 this time, those were the kitchen cabinets. We painted them, and then I burned them. Remember the kitchen fire? And so we got new cabinets, and the insurance covered all of that, thankfully. But yeah, this house, go back one, Donna. It's an interesting note. Archie Poole brought that house in. She had it hauled in, and I got 2 stories on it. It was either pulled out of the Vanport flood floating down the river, which is probably not true, or it's an old army barracks that was brought in from somewhere, and I think that's what it was. Very thin walls, remember all the mold and mildew, and there wasn't even 2x4s in that structure. But Archie Poole lived in that house. That was her first house as her home when she was pastor here. Her husband was unsaved at that time, but supported her in her ministry. She founded quite a few churches, I think 4 or 5 in Oregon. So she was a pioneer woman. Go ahead, Donna. And the old kitchen. And that's me, of course, but I'm showing you the batching plant back there. When the property come up for sale, we bought all of this property. It was, we had a place where 7 cars maybe along the front.
I think 11 from...
11 cars could park, and the rest of it was all waters. And so it was one day in the week, I saw a lady going out there across here to that little knoll of grass and putting in a for sale sign. And I called my husband where he was, and I said, they're selling the property, you better get here quick. Because we didn't know who was going to buy the property. He came, and she was up putting another sign up there close to the batching plant. We bought that probably within the week and just took it off the market because we had to have that property or we're going to be penned in by somebody else doing whatever. So remember when the old batching plant was taken down? Yeah, we had to hire that done, brought it down. And now that whole area is grown up in trees and mostly alders. And
When we brought down the silo, we brought down this silo here, it was caked that deep with concrete, dry powdered concrete all in the inside. And so when that was pulled over, all of that broke loose. And then Ralph Roth loaded it into his pickup and hauled it all home and made it poured his... Pardon?
I got quite a bit of it.
You got
Did you?
some too?
we were glad to see the batching plant go because then it officially was no longer Water's batching plant. When I was 18 years old and living there, it was trucks in and out the whole time.
2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, it was just a
And
constant
those high
traffic.
pitch vacuum pumps or whatever they
Yeah.
were, that they'd bring in the concrete and then they'd run it up into that silo, and the high pitch whining of that thing for several hours while they emptied the truck and pumped the concrete up there.
Yeah, it was quite a noisy operation, and we got used to it. It becomes white noise sort of in the background. You get used to railroad tracks or whatever. People today, when they're picking property, they want everything to be exactly. And we just grew up with railroad tracks and batching plants and, whatever was around us. We didn't have that type of life that got to pick 4 or 5 bedrooms and 4,000 square feet on 6 acres. We just lived in something. We lived in something else. Yeah. But I was 18 years old when we came here. Go ahead, Donna. This is the first wedding that took place in the new church. It was ours. And you'll see the plywood. It's right down here, the backdrop of the plywood. And all of the walls here still had the mud on all the nails. So proper lighting, they just sort of disappeared in the picture. So go ahead, Donna.
That was the last
Oh, that's it. Okay. So wanted to take you, I wanted a picture of Archie and some of her pictures because that showed the mountains and the digging out of the mountain. And that's pretty good history. And
So
what
if
the, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you brought that up. So is everybody around here knew Jerry Kangas, right? I mean, he grew up, became a big player in the Gideon organization in this region, and even, I don't remember how big it was. Pardon?
All over the world.
Yeah, became,
Yeah.
Archie Poole led him to Jesus at the age of 9. So you think about that, you know, talking about in class, that influence. I mean, look where Jerry was elevated to in the responsibility and role he played in distributing Bibles across the world. And then it started with a little pioneer lady at 1948, right out here. And he lived in the house right across the street. That's why we have those, they have those pictures that we
Yeah.
want of the excavation taking place on
It
this piece of
shows the
property.
mountain to the road in those pictures. We had them in our 50th celebration